Hey, it's Doug with an opportunity to catch up with Jason Roy. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, new music, building 429, and proud papa moments tied to a TV show called American Idol. You may have heard of it. Jason, welcome.
What's up, man? It's been too long.
I know. Good to connect again, my friend. So, The Fuel Music releasing a new heaven and a new earth, a compilation project, and the first song is yours, man. Tell us about it.
Yeah, man. This opportunity to be a part of this project kind of popped up out of nowhere. So Phil Joel is one of my favorite people on earth. Always has been. I was a fan of his first. I used to go to the Newsboys shows and think he was the coolest one on the stage, and then years went by. We started touring together, and finally got past the nerves and became friends. And through the years, it's just been a cool relationship. He came to me one day. He said, "Hey, I'm working on this project called A New Heaven, New Earth. I wonder if you'd like to be involved." And I was like, "Well, tell me, what is it?" And he was like, "It's kind of a project that was about conservation, about recognizing that, we've been blessed. God created this beautiful, beautiful place. And maybe evangelicals could talk a little bit more about taking care of what we've been given." And off the top, I was kind of like, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense to me, and I said, "So give me like the short one sentence. What is this thing?" And he said, "Clean up your room." And I thought, man, I tell my kids that every day, and I thought also, as a person who's traveled the world a bit, yeah, we need to clean up the room a bit, and take care of this world that we live in. So, also Teddy Roosevelt, my favorite president by far, national parks, conservationist, but man's man, all that kind of stuff. So, it was an easy end for me to be a part of it. What's cool about this project is that it brings people with very, very differing backgrounds and opinions together at a round table to bring their best art together to shed light on something that I think is probably we don't talk about a lot. And that is that, hey, guys, we could do better with taking care of this planet that we live on and this of the creation that God has entrusted to us. And I love it because it's one of those situations where I'm sitting at the table and I know that I'm probably one of the more conservative people. But if I open my mind and my heart to listen to what someone else who has a very different opinion is saying, and I give them the respect that they deserve, and I can actually learn and I can actually be a better man from it. So the project's been incredible. The songs that have come in for this project are amazing, and the people are amazing. I'm fans of all of them, and I think it's a really, really cool social experiment to put this different group of artists in the same room and say, create something awesome together, and watch them work together instead of bump heads on things that really don't matter.
Well, I think a lot of times we find consensus and agreement. And so who can't agree that we're not supposed to take care of course, our bodies, but the greater picture to take care of the world. So I think the premise itself is so universally inclusive. Like who's going to argue with that?
Right. Well, you would think, and it's been cool because obviously this organization, this project is connected to the Vatican. It's connected to the United Nations. There's a lot of, and for a deep seated Southern Baptist, some of these are like, oh my gosh, what? But then you get inside the rooms, you start talking to these people, you read their resumes, and you go, my goodness, these are some heavyweight people that are trying to do some really good work. They love Jesus, and it's an honor for me to be in here and to learn, and also to bring my perspective. Like how do you make sure that no one in the world ever hears the conservative perspective or the liberal perspective? You keep it to yourself, or you scream at other people. I think the middle ground of walking in and going, hey, this is what I think, tell me where we disagree and how we can get on the same page, is what this project has been about. And it's just been so beautiful to be a part of, and to be able to see just fruit from this project. It's already been really cool.
Well, tell us about the song "It's All Yours," which is the first song of the project. You kick everything off. I understand there's a little inspirational story behind writing this one.
Yeah. So when I was 40, a mountain that I'd been looking at my whole life, from the bottom up, my wife decided it was time for us to climb it. And so we went out to Yosemite and we climbed Half Dome, which is a huge mountain in my life. For when I was a child, we lived in Madera, California, dead center of the desert. awful. It wasn't my favorite at the time, but every weekend we drove to Yosemite and I just stare at that thing. And I had the poster on my wall, and it was so interesting because when I got to the top of that mountain, I realized I could literally look into the valley 3,400 feet beneath me, uh, and and see people looking up with the perspective that I had always looked up at it with. And then, but at the top of that mountain, the perspective was so different, and it was just awe inspiring and really like, wow, God, this is all yours, and you've entrusted it to me for this moment. I said it like this: for one moment in time, the summit of Half Dome was mine to take care of, and watching the sun setting up there, it just made me go, man, can you imagine if people just went up there and trashed the place? How sad it would be, and so I don't know. I came back from that with this renewed sense of I love nature. It's beautiful because this thing right, this phone, takes up all of our focus and attention. And I even made this illustration to someone I was talking to earlier. I said, you can sit inside your house and see some really awesome things that man created, right? But go out and stare at a mountain that you can't even comprehend how it got there. You will definitely find your place in this world and be more in awe of God. And that's where, it's all yours began.
That's cool. That's cool. What does it mean then to be like the kickoff artist of this whole lineup of people that are coming from all diverse musical backgrounds, let alone perspectives?
Well, it's cool because, as is my nature, this, Doug, as is my nature, when I go into something, I go in pretty heavy, and so I even produced a couple of songs for the project, and to be the leadoff song, again, the list of artists that are on this, these are now today's CCM listener might not understand at first who these artists are, but if you dig just a little bit, we're talking about heavyweights, and we're talking about people who laid the foundation for what CCM is today, and of course at the same time there's some modern, very modern CCM artists as well. But for me to be in the room with legends and people that I just hold in such high esteem, and to be in the studio working out parts with heroes of mine that I used to listen to their records, and then to say, oh man, finish this thing, you got it, produce the whole thing. It was just so wild, and the fact that my song comes out first it's cool. It's laying the groundwork for what's to come, and I think that the song is broad enough that it is very modern, and I think people from all, whether you're a believer or non-believer, you're going to find yourself in it. It's honestly got the Genesis story in the first verse, and the chorus is kind of a flip where it's like, it's all yours, God. But honestly, it's also a flip of saying, hey, world, it's all yours. Like, this is on you. Take ownership. And so anyway, very cool. And I'm honored to be the first song.
Well, and you mentioned the Vatican. So you performed the song at the Vatican? Is that the story?
Yeah. Yeah. I've never been. And again, the scary Catholic Church, but it was beautiful being there and seeing it with my own eyes, talking to cardinals who have lived their entire life to honor the Lord. And it was a great question asked by one of the guys that was there. His guy's name's Don Chaffer, and he's a legend himself. But he asked a question. He said, "So what have you seen change in the last 5 years in the world?" And the cardinal said, he laughed and he said, 5 years. That's such a short amount of time. Like, he said, people spent their entire lives working on one small corner of a column of the Vatican to never see it finished, but to make sure their part of this small corner was perfect and the foundation was solid and laid. They would never see it finished, but it was their responsibility to lay the foundation. They took pride in it, and they did it well their entire lives. And he said, you just kind of talked about how there's a reality that we want results now, and I honestly believe that in the conservation movement, part of the problem has been that, that people have been like, we have to change everything right now, or else we're all going to die. It's like, well, that's not going to work. I hope you believe that, but if you don't, bad idea. Wasn't going to work in the first place. So but the cardinal just laid out. He's like, man, like we need to, if we look back up and we look at things from a big picture, we find that these things that seem like mountains are actually just small blips, and that we just need to trust that God and his infinite plan has everything in his hands, and that change comes slow, that lasting change comes slow. And I just thought, wow, what perspective. Because I didn't hear a lot of that one here in the States, where it's like, you can be a millionaire tomorrow if you buy, Bitcoin, whatever it is,
Right.
So very cool. What a crazy experience. And then to play my song at the Vatican with, these cardinals and priests listening was unbelievable.
How was it received then?
Oh, it's different. It is different. Like, like here it's like standing up, people jump up and get all excited. There, they're very reserved. And then after it's over, they come up and just like, so what did you mean by bursting forth from the ground to the sky? Explain that line to me. And so like very
Very cerebral, huh?
very cerebral, yes.
Yeah.
But in the great way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So Building 429, that's still running and gunning. You got a couple of festivals coming up. I think, what am I looking at here? Is it next week?
This weekend I'm going to West
This
Virginia.
weekend.
Next weekend I'm going to Phoenix, and then we're pausing. I'm doing an acoustic tour in September, which I'm looking forward to, more a songwriter, storyteller type tour. I'm taking Matt Hammett from Sanctus,
Yep.
and Blake Neesmith. You remember him from Finding Favor? And we're going to do this Troubadours night, which is going to be really fun.
That's cool.
So lots going on there. A lot of fun.
Well, and certainly shout out to your daughter Haven, and my wife Cheryl and I have always been big Idol fans. So I remember when she walked in that first audition, I hadn't heard anything that you guys were connected there. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Jason, man. I see that. So, dude, congratulations.
Thank you. Well, it's what a ride. As a parent, you worry to death about your kid. But also, I mean, she's incredibly capable. And, the experience was far better than we thought it was going to be. We honestly didn't really want her to do it, but she thought on a whim, she's like, hey, we'll try out, and, it won't matter, but we'll just say we tried out. And, because we've been working on her as an artist for years. And whether they liked her or not didn't matter to me. It's like, we're going to take you there. It's just made, again, that long, steady plan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that got blown up when America met her. The long steady went away, and she just had this crazy run on Idol. She ended up at number 7, I think. And she is now just signed a record deal, just signed her publishing deal, touring, music coming, and I'm now a dadinger.
Well, I mean, kudos to you and your amazing wife. I mean, to train up her. I mean, she was so composed, and she was so solid, and she was so comfortable in the pocket, in her faith, the whole deal. I'm like, this is a maturity beyond years.
Yeah, I mean, she did the show when she had just turned 17. And she's going into her senior year of high school. She went to high school yesterday or Monday for the first time, and like her name had shifted. Last year at high school, her name was Haven Roy. This year, what people called her Haven last year. This year, no one calls her Haven. They all call her Haven Madison. She's like, yeah, I'm still Haven. So pretty cool.
Well, and that's got to be cool too, as a dad, whenever your kiddos sort of follow in your footsteps kind of thing. It's that's cool.
Yeah, I like to say it like this. She's all the good parts of me. She's just got talent. So that that helps.